Leeds United are on the verge of signing Noah Okafor, who is a winger that is currently at AC Milan, has been at Napoli recently, originally through the RB system. I think it was Leipzig that he played for at one point. But that's not what we're going to be talking about in this particular video, because I'll be honest, I'll be doing more than talking about that on my live stream, which is this morning, I think, at 7:30, because I'm doing a flight tracking thing again, because it's quite fun and it's nice and chill. But that's not what we're paying attention to right now, because Leeds United have more deals to do, including a backup fullback, because right now it is starting and then Byram and Schmidt. And Byram is decent, but we don't have his Premier League decent, and Schmidt is probably leaving, and I'll stick it at that because I don't want to say bad things about people. So Leeds were very heavily linked with a backup fullback, which was James Justin, and then things went very, very quiet after James Justin got injured for Leicester. So I'm going to talk about that sort of deal that looked like it was on the table, the silence that has followed since, and the potential direction that Leeds United will go in response to that. But if you haven't, I'd usually appreciate you popping a like on the video and subscribing and all that kind of stuff. The more you subscribe, the less I'll ask you to, because only something like 40% of you are actually subscribed, so just go ahead and do it. Be nice of you. Anyway, so James Justin got a little bit clattered playing for Leicester and had to come off in the 70-somethingth minute of their most recent match, which is not the best of signs, especially since it looked like a relatively bad injury at the time. Since then, the only things that we've heard in terms of injury news have been sort of rumour and conjecture and people having a stab in the dark. Specifically, the big rumour that sort of spread around was that it was going to be a dead leg, therefore something that could be relatively easily dealt with. If you've got a dead leg, that recovers in, what, a week to a playing standard, maybe 2 if it's especially bad. But it's something that you can fairly easily deal with. So why is there still a silence, is the question that I've got in response to that. Because we've not heard anything out of Leicester so far. We've not heard, well, okay, yeah, he might be a little bit hurt, but it's only this, so the move can continue to go ahead. The initial move, just to sort of cover this off, was going to be for around £7 to £9 million. Those were the numbers that I had heard. And it would be a permanent deal, 3 or 4 year contract, as far as I know, with the understanding being that he wouldn't be coming in as a starting fullback option, but he could realistically fight his way into the conversation if he were to perform at a good enough standard. However, since that point, we've heard nothing from Leicester because he started a match for them and got injured. Just a quick note, this is why you don't start players when they're on the verge of a transfer, and why, if there is a sort of rumour around a player, you can pay attention to where they are in the squad. For example, when Rafa Leao got injured the other night for AC Milan, it wasn't Noah Okafor that came on, it was Jimenez that came on instead, which is fair enough. Like, it makes sure that you're not going to risk an injury to a player that is almost certainly going to be leaving you. Issue is, Leicester might have potentially sabotaged their own £7 to £9 million move, which is dangerous for their position. But what are Leeds United doing in response? And there is a couple of sort of theories going around. There is one that says that Leeds are just sort of waiting to find out what goes on. But I've heard a couple of bits around potential interest from Leeds United in other players that are floating around in the potential fullback sphere. One of the names that I heard mentioned was Anthony Catchy. Anthony Catchy, by the way, is one that I don't realistically see us getting, because we've also seen interest from Everton in him, we've seen interest from Fulham, and the Leedsy interest is sort of tangential. But the important note is there's a specific sort of profile that we need from a fullback, because a fullback is very important to the system that we've got. Now, I'm going to get onto the specific profile in a minute, but for an idea of how important that fullback is to us, Gudmundsson was, at least on SofaScore, one of our better players in the match against Everton. This was because he added a little bit of width. He gave an option to Willie Gnonto to sort of, right, okay, you can't take on the man, but you can give it to Gudmundsson, who will then find Stack, and then we can just recycle the ball, find an opportunity. Brilliant. Fantastic. Same on the other flank. Plenty of times you'd see Bogle overlapping, underlapping, making himself a little bit of a menace, like we saw all of last season. A lot of the times our fullbacks will bring a bulk of our width and a lot of our attacking threat, with a midfielder dropping in to cover for them. So continuing that is good, and it just shows how important getting the signing right is. Because if we get an injured fullback, Byram doesn't do that effectively compared to Bogle and Gudmundsson. So we need someone that can do the attacking side of things while still having the energy to defend in those tricky games. In essence, the sort of profile that we're looking for isn't just someone that can play in one of those positions. If you have to pick a left back or a right back, I'm obviously going to go towards a left back, purely because Sam Byram prefers to play out on the right. It's his preferred foot, and you can always tell there's a little bit of discomfort with him when he's told to play out over on the left. But for me, what you realistically want is someone that can do both sides, is comfortable with both of their feet. So in the event that Byram does have a little bit of a knock, as he tends to do sometimes, and you lose one of your starting fullbacks for a little bit, you've got another backup in place that can do either side of the pitch and isn't going to be in trouble. For me, one of the most underrated aspects of having a player is the versatility that they're able to bring. It's why when you look back over Leeds' recent players, Stuart Dallas is one of the biggest bargains because he had the versatility to play in central midfield, both wings, fullback on the left, fullback on the right, and I'm sure if you asked nicely, he'd happily play as a number 9 as well. Dallas could do absolutely everything. I'm not saying you need to sign a fullback so they can play as a midfielder, but having someone that has the skill set for multiple positions is only going to be of benefit to you. So someone like a James Justin who can play on the left and the right would be fantastic. But if we do end up needing to look at more options, because I think if it is an injury that is going to go beyond a couple of weeks, it is sensible to sort of have a look at the market and go, right, we've got to go a little bit wider here. If he's injured beyond the first international break, for example, there's not really a benefit to signing him. So look a little bit wider, see what the net picks up when you cast it. I don't know, that metaphor got away from me. So someone like an Anthony Catchy would make sense, but in the meantime, Leeds are just sat here waiting to find out what is happening with James Justin. And if he's fit enough, sure, I can see that move happening. The medical will need to do a lot of scrutiny. Let's get that 100% clear. Like, if he's got a knock and it turns out to be anything worse than we currently judge it to be, deal with that as quickly as we can just to be safe. But at the end of the day, signing Justin would be good. Signing a fullback that is able to actually play for us at some point in the next 2 months, because I'm sure we'll get a knock or a bump or something along those lines in that time frame, will be even better. This was a bit of a rambly one, but you know what? That's okay. We're waiting for injury news. There's a little bit of interest in other players, but that's not gotten advanced, I assume, because we don't have the full details around what's going on with James Justin. And with that, I'm going to bring the video to a close. If you're watching relatively early in the morning, hop over to the flight tracking stream because it's going to be a nice chill one over there. And yeah, you can watch that on playback as well. That'd be absolutely lovely of you. And like and subscribe and all that. And you can even become a channel member because it's going to be available for members about 6 hours earlier than it's available for everyone else, which is absolutely lovely. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.